Hello everyone, I hope you're well. The purpose of today is to show you guys how to do the Q assignment part 2. On part 1, we ask you guys to identify two diseases that you want to study further. The purpose of today is basically to navigate through different open source databases in order to identify genes that are linked to the diseases that you have identified. I hope you have fun. The first thing to do is go to the OMIN database. And basically it's for you to create an account. So they're going to ask you things such as, for example, email address, and for you to create a password, and so on and so forth. Once you have created your account, then you're ready to do your search. So on search bar, you basically click the name of the first disease that you want to study further. So in my case, I'm using the example of Alzheimer's disease. So I'm going to put Alzheimer's disease in the browser, and then I'm going to hit enter. So once you hit enter, you should see something that looks like this. In my case, since I'm using Alzheimer's disease, as you can see here, it says the result is 411 entries. In your case, depending on the disease, it could be as little as 20, it could be as much as 1,000. Okay, so basically here you have a list of every single gene that is linked to your disease. So now what we're gonna do next is basically to download the list of genes that are associated with your specific disease. So you basically click where it says download as, you click that, and then you click on Excel file. So once you guys have downloaded the Excel sheet, then if you open it, then you should be able to see a list of genes that are associated with your disease. So there should be, some information, something that looks like this. For example, name, number, title, include T cytogenetic genomic entries, gene ID, and so on and so forth. In this case, what we're going to try to do is to isolate or extract the gene symbol. And if you do this, basically you go to the title. Let's click, for example, when I look at the first one, the one that it's 607822. So if you go to the title, in here it says Alzheimer's disease 3AD3. So the AD3, that's basically the gene symbol. That's the one that we want. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna copy it, and then I'm gonna put it into a new sheet. Okay, and I'm gonna go through each row, extracting only the gene symbol. I do want to mention that sometimes in some of those rows, you might not find the gene symbol, and that's fine. If they don't have a gene symbol, then you just skip those. But you basically go through the whole list until you have isolated every single gene symbol. So in my case, I have generated just a list of the gene symbol. And you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna follow the same steps for your second disease that you have identified. Okay, so you're basically gonna follow the same steps that you did, going to OMIN and doing the search bar, putting, the name of your second disease. In my case, in here, I basically put hearing loss. So that's gonna generate a list of genes that are associated with hearing loss, and I go to the same step of just extracting the gene symbol. And it's up to you. You can basically open a new Excel sheet where you can put both of the gene symbols for each disease. After you have isolated the gene symbols for each disease and you have put it into a different Excel sheet or just into a new sheet itself, then you're basically ready to compare if there are any genes that are similar or which ones are the ones that are unique. And in order for you to do this, you basically go to on conditional formatting, on the Excel sheet, conditional formatting, highlight set rules, duplicate values, and you're gonna see something that looks like what you see in the picture here. So basically the ones you read, those are the ones that are similar between the two diseases. And so what you can do is you can basically separate them. You can put one column, but in my case where I'm gonna put Alzheimer's disease only, and in the middle I'm gonna put something that says, like both, meaning that it has both Alzheimer's disease and hearing loss. And then on another column I'm gonna put something that says hearing loss only. So in here I basically have a list of genes, genes that are basically only associated to Alzheimer's disease, genes that are associated only to hearing loss, and genes that are basically common between the two. And this is going to be important for the next step of the assignment. Okay, so basically, in order for us to display our results, we're going to do this using graphs. And there are different types of graphs. For example, you have scatter plots, you have bar graphs, you have line graphs, and you have pie charts. It depends on what message you're trying to show. That's going to determine what type of graph you're going to be using. In my case, since I basically want to show what genes are unique to, let's say, for example, Alzheimer's disease, what genes are unique to hearing loss, and what genes are in common, what I'm going to do here is basically use a pie chart. But it's really up to you to determine which bar graph you're going to use. All right, so now we're on to the last step. So what is the last step? The last step is basically to separate the genes, that are unique to each disease. Like in my case, the genes that were only for Alzheimer's disease, genes that were only for, hearing loss or deafness, and genes that are in common between the two of them. Once this step is complete, you're basically ready to create your graph. And I have done like a small exercise to kind of show you guys, so you guys can actually practice how to create graphs. And basically, there's this assignment that I have titled, graph making steps by Dr. Daniel Ramirez Gordillo. So basically, if you have M&Ms, or you have a series of different colors such as Fruit Loops, you can use that in order to practice how to make a graph. So after finishing that part of the assignment, review the different types of graphs and consider what you want to demonstrate with your graph. For example, you may want to highlight genes that are unique to Alzheimer's disease, genes that are unique to hearing loss or deafness, and genes that are implicated in both of them. So once you have done that, then congratulations on completing this part of the assignment. You have learned how to navigate operations databases and how to create graphs. So essentially, you have become a scientist. And you're basically ready to do the last part of this assignment, which is basically to put everything together.